on target, two things have to happen. One, the gun has to be pointed at the target, and two, the gun must be made to fire. Many people think that these things are done sequentially. That first, you line up the sights with the target, and once they're lined up, that you can forget about them and concentrate on making the gun fire by pressing the trigger. These two things are not done sequentially, they're done simultaneously. Line up the sights with the target and continue to keep the sights lined up, making micro corrections of the sight alignment as necessary while you start increasing the pressure on the trigger, until finally you get the surprise break. Because you've been paying so much attention to the sight alignment, you should know the sight's position in regard to the target at the moment the gun fires. That was good. Front sight dipped. This is where calling the shots comes in. That was good. Front sight was very slightly to the right. That wouldn't matter at close distances. At 25 yards, I probably would have had a shot a few inches to the right. Watch the front sight. It's when you get to the point that you know where the sights are when the moment the gun fires that you get to a whole nother level in your shooting. Most shooting errors are caused by improper trigger control and through a lack of concentration on the sights, where people are doing the shooting sequentially, sight alignment, then trigger pull. Remember, these are done simultaneously. You're lining up the sights, making micro corrections the entire time you're pulling the trigger. This can happen very quickly, but they must be happening simultaneously. You should be so focused on the sights that you know where the sights were when the gun fired. Shooting one-handed is the same as shooting two-handed, except you don't have as much support. And because you don't have as much support, trigger control errors become magnified. For right-handed shooters, one of the biggest errors is they do not get enough finger on the trigger, so while they're applying pressure on the face of the trigger, they're also touching the corner, and what that does is it moves the gun to the left, away from the trigger as it's being pulled. If you're shooting two-handed, the second hand kind of fights against the pushing of the trigger finger. When you're shooting single-handed, that becomes negated, and you can see the front sight wandering off target. Shooting one-handed also gives you less recoil control. The method I teach is one I learned from Asad Ayub, and that's a good aggressive stance. So I'm going to lean way into the gun so that I'm getting body mass behind the gun to help control the recoil. Side view shows a little bit better. I'm not standing straight up. I'm going to be leaning way into it, getting these big muscles behind the gun to control the recoil, to get the gun back on target as quickly as possible. In addition to that, what am I going to do with my offhand? Best place for it is in the middle of your chest, making a fist. If you notice, if you make one fist and squeeze as hard as you can while the other one's open, and then tighten this one down, you'll notice you'll get about a 10% increase on the squeeze of that. So while this hand is out here, this hand is in front of my chest, squeezing a good hard fist, while this one is squeezing hard on the pistol also. I'm leaning way into the gun to get body mass behind the gun for recoil control. But once again, it's just a matter of sight alignment and trigger control. I'm watching the sights the entire time I'm placing pressure on the trigger. If I need to make micro corrections to the sight alignment, I do. Left hand, same thing. Sight alignment, trigger control.